Hey everyone, DCB here again with another step-by-step process on my McDonald's McMiniatures. The process for all these are kind of the same with some exceptions here and there, so I thought you'd be sick of seeing it, but you've all been asking for more. So today I thought I'd show you how I do these Burger Patch burgers that I make exclusively for a client in Japan. They're not the same scale as the rest of the McMiniatures, so that's why I'm not offering them to my regular audience. These are strictly exclusive product that I make for one store in Japan. Apparently, they're quite popular there, and people line up around the block whenever they release a new batch of them in the store. So, even though they're really simple looking, they're actually the most frustratingly complicated of the McDonald's things that I make, simply because they are so simple that any little error is just so glaringly obvious. I have to make them absolutely perfect. Plus, the client is very, very particular on how they look, which is understandable. I've done several batches of these already as hamburgers with the pickle, but now we're doing the cheeseburgers. To get a digital file of the burger, I scanned this original Playland burger that I'll also be restoring. I then brought that raw file into ZBrush to do a lot of digital cleanup to it. The cheese I just digitally drew in from scratch. ZBrush is a new program for me and it has a very steep learning curve, but I'm kind of sort of getting the hang of it. Once I'm satisfied with the file, I reduce the size down to the scale I want, and then I print it out on my Creality resin printer. There's some more cleanup I need to do to that print to get it mold ready. And then I made a 2-part silicone mold with a custom 3D printed jacket for rigidity. I explained 2-part molds a little more in another video I did a couple months ago if you want to know more about that. The first step after the mold is created is to rotocast. When I first did these, I had some issues with the paint sticking to the resin because of their smooth surface and the mold release that I'd spray in the mold. Even after I washed the release off the casting, I would still have issues with the paint not always sticking properly. So to solve this, I discovered kind of accidentally that I can first spray the mold with spray paint instead of mold release. And this would not only act as a good mold release, it also created an outer surface of paint that was kind of embedded in the resin. And this thin paint layer would help the adhesion of the other layers of paint that I would paint on top of it. It's really saved me a lot of issues and troubles with paint adhesion. And now I do this with every casting that I do. I wish I had thought of this technique years ago. It would have saved me a lot of heartache, but now this is how I'm going to forever do my mold castings. I've always preferred rotocasting over just pour casting for many reasons. It seems to grab more detail and I don't have to worry about pour spouts and all that. And I get the full casting around the item without that pour spout. After these are done being cast, I'm going to paint them with Omni MBC automotive paints in Hyundai Sunny Yellow with my spray gun. I picked this color years ago when I started doing the full-size restorations, and I just continue to use this color because I like the way it looks, and I want all my burger buns to have a consistency over the years. I buy my paints from this body shop store in here in Sioux Falls. They're definitely not cheap, as you can see, but like I said, I use these paints for my restorations, and I like to keep the colors consistent with all the McDonald's projects I do. So they go a long way though, so it's worth it in the end. So I give them a good spray with this paint, and like I said, with the paint being in the casting, it has really good adhesion, and I don't have to worry about priming these burgers anymore like I used to. And then after this layer is dry, I'm going to airbrush on the toasted part. For this, I'm using the Omni automotive paints again, but this time it's BMW Volcanic Orange, which I discovered later on is the color that they use for Mini Coopers, which I thought was kind of fun since I'm such a fan of Mini Coopers. I had no idea when I picked this orange out of a book of a million different auto paints that that's what this color was. I'm just using a basic Posh airbrush here, going around the bottom and then the top. It's a kind of relaxing step to do. And also, one of the benefits of doing these hollow is that I have this hole in the bottom that I can use to hold them and then also stand them up on these dowels to dry. So it's just really handy way to handle them, I guess. After the orange is fully cured, then I go on to the eyeballs. And for that, I'm using Tamiya flat white, and I just hand brush that on. I have to do about 3 layers just to get it opaque enough. And then I'll start with the cheese. For that, I'm just using some inexpensive craft paint from Testers. It takes about 2 layers to get a full coverage. Next, it's the hamburger meat. Over the years, I've tried different browns for the meat, but I always like the look of the Tamiya red brown for this step. I also really like the quality of that paint brand since it just goes on so smoothly and has good coverage, and it only takes about 1.5 layers to get a full coverage of that. For the pupils, I made this little vacuform stencil that I use so that I can get a consistent size and position of the pupils. I just lay it over and then pencil in the area, and then I'll go in with these little micro brushes and some black paint and just fill it in. And then the final paint step is to add this little white glint to the pupils, which really brings the eyes to life. Once all the painting is done, then it's on to my most favorite and also my most dreaded step, which is the automotive clear coat. I'm using Omni MC270 production clear, which is a 2-part 4:1 ratio in a spray gun. It's always a tricky proposition, especially on these burgers, and I end up messing up a lot of them. As you can see, I have quite a bit of burgers that have made it up to this final step, and then I just mess up the clear coat, which is so disheartening. I literally have probably 100 of these burgers that have made it almost all the way to the finish line, and then they just don't turn out, and I have to toss them out. But I don't want to toss them out, so I just keep them in this bin here. I'm starting to get a better grasp on this clear coat process, but it always seems like there's just some little issue that messes everything up. And like I said, on these burgers especially, they're so tricky. I did a show recently in North Carolina where I showcased my McMiniatures, and a lot of people really thought that these pieces were made of ceramic, and I'd never heard that before, but I guess that's what people think just because the clear coat really makes them look like they're, I don't know, ceramic, like a glazed ceramic or something. I never thought of that before, but it's really interesting to me that people thought that. After I let the clear coat cure overnight, then it's time to fill these up solid so that they have some heft to them. In the past, I filled them up with some fast curing resins, and they would kick off so much heat during the curing process that it would sometimes bubble up the paint or distort the resin, and that was no good. So then I ended up having to fill them just a little bit at a time, maybe like a quarter of the way, and just let that cure a little bit at a time so it wouldn't build up so much heat. But I talked to my resin supplier at Smooth On, and they said if I use a slower curing resin, that it won't be such an issue anymore. So now I'm using Smooth On Smooth Cast 310 to fill them up, which has a slow cure time of a few hours. Thus, there isn't as much heat kicking off and potentially ruining these castings. After everything is cured, I sand off any irregularities on the bottom to make them nice and smooth. And then I cut these little pieces of felt with my circular cutter to cap them off. It just helps hide the pore area, and it also gives it a nice finished look. And that's it. Little miniature burger paperweights, I guess. Like I said, they just love them in Japan, and I guess they have a lot of paper that needs to be weighed down. I don't know, but they love them. Anyway, like I said, these are 100% exclusive to Japan, and I'm not going to be offering them to anyone else because I made that promise to my friend that he would be exclusive, but I just want to share these with everyone here anyway. As for the next McMiniature, I'm not going to release a new piece for a while until I get seriously caught up on my back orders. With all the extra work that I've been doing for new clients, like these burgers, and with the generators that I've been working on for Generac, I've been getting really behind on the McMiniature orders, and I apologize for that. But I'm going to make a huge effort this year to really finish up those past orders. And then once I get that under control, then I can start to think about introducing the next piece, which I'm pretty sure will be the Captain Crook corkscrew slide. I've been asked by many people for this to be the next piece. I'm still not 100% sure how I'm going to tackle the actual slide pieces. I guess they'll be cast in resin in several stages or something, but I'm not sure yet, but I'll figure it out for you. So anyway, that's just a little update. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me on this journey and giving me this career in my life. I guess I never thought this would become my full-time job, but you can't always predict the future, I guess, and that's fun. So anyway, thanks, everyone. Bye.
Darn, that's the end.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel and follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Dustin Cropsboy. Also check out our TeePublic page for t-shirts you can buy to help support this channel, or just go to the website dcbvarietyhour.com for all the links.